Well, hello again, human beings from the planet Earth. We are gathered here this time to talk about policing, something that I think we can all agree has gone foul in this country. And what we see going on now is another sign of the end phases of an empire gone bad. So, I think most people overlook the fact that, we see a lot of states and cities being very soft on crime, um, uh, which hasn't worked. No matter what you believe, it's not working out. They'll tell you crime statistics are going down, but when those crime statistics are derived from court records and the courts don't produce any records because they dismiss things, it will seem like there isn't as much crime. There's just not as much crime being prosecuted. Should we increase prosecutions? That's not going to work either. Um, and here's why. For generations, we were taught not to defend ourselves, not to defend our property. We don't have a right, in most cases, to take action against somebody that's doing us harm, whether they're assaulting us or they are stealing our stuff, or even if they are stealing our neighbor's stuff and our neighbor isn't home or isn't able to defend their property. We don't have a right to go act on their behalf to look out for them, and that's disgusting. First of all, we are human beings. Now, I know in a lot of cases you have a right to defend yourself, but it's a very fine line, and it has most people scared to do anything. They pick up 911, hoping that, somebody answers the phone, which somebody usually answers the phone, but not always. Not always in a timely manner. Maybe it's in the middle of a storm and you can't even get through. So there's the first failure. And then you got to wait. First of all, whoever answers the phone, you've got to hope that they see things your way and will send law enforcement. And by then, I think we know, right? We're here. We see it. Our things are being stolen. Our women and children are being raped. It doesn't get any better. And that's the failure because we're not taught to handle this shit ourselves. I think a system of proper law enforcement involves us and the police. Now, we're not going to always be able to handle our own stuff. And I want to give you a story from my own life experience that says that my way of doing things is a better way of doing things. When I was living in Marathon, Florida, somebody who was a drug addict and had a long history of crime thought that it would be a good idea while I was at work to steal my motor dinghy. I lived on a sailboat and I paid dock fees so that I could tie up my dinghy while I went to work. And I worked at minimum of a 12-hour shift driving cab locally in Marathon. I got home, I was the night manager actually. I get home, so it's 5:30, quarter of 6 in the morning. Go to My dinghy's not there. Beautiful dinghy. I'd only had it a few months. It was near new when I bought it. Nice 6 horsepower Mercury outboard, inflatable dinghy. Perfect for a single guy, but I could fit 4 people in it pretty easily. Um, Gone. So I waited till people were up and about. I got a ride from a friend back to my boat who, on his way to get me, saw a dinghy flipped up on its side near where I lived on my boat on anchor. So he took me over there. It was my dinghy. Everything was stripped. The motor was gone. The toolbox was gone. The fuel tank was gone. The numbers, the FL numbers, the registration numbers, those were gone. Even the plywood floor I'd put in it was gone. Everything. The oars were still there, as I remember. So anyway, I had a good idea who did it. I called the police. get them involved, met with the detectives, went back to my boat. Now, again, I'd been up for about 15 hours at this point, between work and this bullshit. So I went to sleep. When I got up, I went out because I'm not going to wait for the police. I'm pretty sure I know who did this. I'm going to go get more information, and I'm going to find the motherfucker that took my shit. So I went to town. I ran into an associate of this person that stole my things, a female young lady, and she was hanging out with people that I know, friends of mine, and other people that I knew. Everybody's partying, having a good time. She had a minivan, and so my assumption was is that she was connected to him and that she may have my things in there. She told me she wasn't going to open her van or let me look. I drew my knife out to reinforce the fact that you are going to open your van and I am going to get my shit back. Well, she didn't have any of this shit. Now, you would think at this point she hated me. She does not hate me. In fact, she just donated to the fund I have for my parents to help them out and get a new car. The link to that will be below. I hope you'll take time to look at their story because they could really use some help. But we've remained friends. This incident I'm telling you about happened, I don't know, it was like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. We remained friends, and she was absolutely innocent, and I'm very thankful for her. That's a pretty unique story. So it goes on. I don't have my things. My friends didn't want me to get in trouble because they know how I'm going to handle things. I'm going to get my stuff. I did notify the law because you're supposed to do that, but I'm not going to wait for them. My friend said, Kevin, you don't need the trouble. What do you want? We'll find him for you. What do you want to happen? Now, I'm not going to direct anybody to do anything on my behalf. I just want them to send him a message that when I find him, I'm going to cut him and I'm going to take my shit back. So anyway, I go back to my boat, carry on with my night, wake up in the morning, I'm woken up. First I hear my phone ring, and I ignore it because I don't answer my phone if I'm asleep. And then I heard the text message go off. That's the indication that this is important. Somebody needs me. Text message says, you should come up to the bridge. There's a motor and some other stuff, and I think it might be yours. So I paddle ashore, go up to the bridge. There's all my things returned. So I called the detective, waited for them to come out, and he shook his head and said, I can't believe you got your stuff back already. And I said, well, sir, it was made clear to the person that the wisest choice he could do, wisest thing he could do was return my things, or his life might not be all that enjoyable if he had one at all. The officer didn't like hearing that. He told me that he can't justify vigilante justice. And I responded that he didn't have to. We're not asking your permission, sir. People look out for each other here, and this is, well, you have to let me do my investigation. Sir, I'm letting you do your investigation. That's why you're here. You're going to take fingerprints, and you're going to get this guy in court. He didn't like that. But because my way, I have my stuff back. Your way is still under investigation. He did not like that at all. But I like that. I had my stuff back. Nobody was harmed. We all have choices to make. And the law was involved at that point. You know why this kid was stealing my stuff? Because he's a drug addict. Because our laws and ways hadn't kept him safe his whole life either. Hadn't given him what he needed. That's why governments are put in place, people, so that we will prosper. And drug addicts aren't prospering. Okay, drug dealers might be prospering, but drug addicts are not. And so in my communication with the prosecutor, I made it clear that I didn't want this person to spend any time in jail. His record showed that he had done that a few times. It hadn't helped any. He's still out there stealing, still hooked on drugs. This is what I mean. Law enforcement and the system doesn't want you to protect yourself or your things, doesn't want you to stand up for your neighbors, wants you to rely on them. Had I relied on them, that person would have left state with my items. I would have never seen them again. Okay? They didn't catch up to him for about a month, and he was in a different state. Do you think they would have found my items? No, they would not have. And I'm not somebody that can afford, then or now, to just replace things when some drug addict wants to steal it. This is how I think we should handle it. And also, by doing this, we will bridge that gap that exists between police and people. They want us separated from our police, and that's the stupidest thing we could do. We need to support our police, but we also need to hold them accountable. Keep that in mind. We need to weed out the bad cops. There's ways to do that as well. But as far as a system of law, you and I should have the power that if somebody's stealing our stuff, we take a physical action against them. We do them some physical harm, not to the point of death for thievery, but something that they'll remember. Right? And they run away. I don't know if you shoot them in the leg or you whack them with a stick or whatever you do, as long as you're not killing them. And they run away, and then the law catches up to them. And then the law decides, in communication with the victim, of what the appropriate sentence is. Many cases, especially if you cap them in the leg or something, they got a limp for the rest of their life. They're not going to continue stealing. We can give them help they need if it's a situation of drug abuse or whatever the situation is. We can work with law to make everyone prosper. But in the meantime, don't touch my shit. Now, if you're raping someone, I'm going to shoot to kill. I should have that right to shoot to kill. Things that affect you physically are bad enough. But when you're doing things like molesting kids and raping women, or raping anyone for that matter, that's a trauma of the mind. And that not only lasts that person's lifetime, but it affects their offspring. How do I know? My ex-wife was molested. She was my best friend. And when those memories came back after our third child, she went from the most beautiful person that you would ever want to meet to the most pill-addicted, lying, cheating whore that you would hope to avoid your entire life because of the memories that somebody else inflicted on her mind. It was locked away, and she didn't let those memories out until she felt safe. She was in a safe environment at home with her family. And then so her mind let those out, but it was too much. And to this day, she spent a lot of years on drugs. She did get clean, but to this day, she has to remain medicated and is on disability. Ruined her life. My three sons grew up without their mom in their life. They have communication with her now, but that's not the same. They didn't get the hugs from mom when they were little because of this. And why? It's because somebody raped a child, and the people that knew about it weren't allowed to go throw that motherfucker in the wood chipper. And that's what I think should happen to pedophiles. Shout out to J.D. DeLay. Fully support the wood chipper party in 2028. Anyway, guys, you have that right. I don't care what is written on a piece of paper. You're a human being, and I suggest you start acting like it, but that doesn't mean you just go harm people because you're mad either. There must be a balance. Law, things related to the law, just like children. You need strong discipline and high levels of compassion. But when you go one or the other, you see the failures that we have now. Anyway, leave your thoughts below. Am I too aggressive? Well, I'm probably not going to change at this age, so I suggest you keep your hands off my things. Much love, and I'll see you all in the next video. Hey, like and subscribe. We're going to do this again, and you might want to know about it.